Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about something of very dark for a change. We will be talking about true crime and we will be talking about Columbine. If you've watched my videos before, you've seen that I have talked about Columbine a few times in regards to people on Tumblr who glorify the shooters, who glorify massacres in general, and I would say are people who need a lot of help. Anyway, I'm sure those people will somehow find their way to the comments, so sup. So as far as I'm concerned, this happened very, very quickly, and I'm referring to the Florida teen. Her name, I don't know how it's pronounced. I think it's Sol Pais, but just to avoid any butcherings, we're gonna refer to her as SP. I started getting a flood of DMs about this Florida teen who there was a manhunt for because she was allegedly obsessed with Columbine and had a plan to go to Columbine and do God knows what. So everyone in that area was on high alert. Now, what surprises me about this case is how little it was talked about. Now, even now, when you look at articles, most of them are referring to her after she's died because yes, she does kill herself. We'll get to that. So anyway, what I want to discuss today in particular about this is that her journal or online diary was found. Now, I'm not a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or any type of person to be in the position to diagnose anyone with anything. So that's not what we're trying to do here. What we are trying to do is just look through some of her posts and maybe get a better understanding of what really happened here, what was going on in the mind of this person, because as I've said before, it's very rare that we get to see a lot of what they're thinking and get to see their innermost thoughts. Does that make sense? And just because I'm reading this, it doesn't mean that I condone her thoughts. I just want to know what the hell was going on up there. So let me just read a little bit so I can give a little bit of context in case you have not heard about the SP situation. So here we have an article that says, the Florida teen enraptured by the Columbine mass shooting was already dead before authorities began their frantic search for her. Authorities were on the lookout for SP one day after she flew from Miami to Denver, ostensibly to be within proximity of Columbine High School, where 13 people were murdered in 1999. But an autopsy conducted by the Clear Creek County coroner estimated that the 18-year-old died on April 15th, the same day she landed in Colorado and 5 days before the shooting's 20th anniversary. The findings revealed that SP was dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound before the FBI began its search. The teen bought a shotgun and ammo at a gun store the day she died. Jefferson County Sheriff Jeff Schrader said, based on the information we had at the time, local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, in conjunction with school districts in the Denver metro area, took the necessary steps to ensure our community, and particularly our students, stayed safe until there was no longer a threat. So that is mostly what I was seeing, this kind of emergency status rather than more information, which now makes sense considering she was found dead before the FBI began its search. So why don't we just go directly to her website? Her website opens with, "This is not the place for you to project your insecurities and judgments. Realize that you are not like me and you will never be like me. Realize that my mind exists in and belongs to another dimension of thought, and I am granting you access to this brand new world you either understand or you don't. Tread lightly." So let's click on enter. The purpose of this site is for me to give insight into the thoughts I rarely, if ever, share with others while remaining somewhat anonymous. Everything from journal entries to my personal interests, I want to leave a record of myself before okay. So there's an about me, there's my music page, there's links, and then there's my journal. At the bottom, there's a bullet that says, email me, and then a bunch of little icons that say, she who must be obeyed, so very far from home, sweet dreams, I found my soulmate. All very cryptic messages. And then it says, keep an eye out for secret pages. Interesting. So let's just click on about me for a second. In this tiresome reality that I do not belong in, I take form of Sol. I am the face of loneliness and misery, of isolation and anger, of exhaustion and anxiety, of anguish and grace. It feels really weird that I'm able to do this. I don't know if you feel weird, but it almost feels like I'm trespassing, though this is now public information. It just feels very strange that I have access to this. Does that make sense to anyone? Like, it's giving me a little bit of a goosebump thing. Let's go to my journal. So it opens up on a page with a gun and it says ready. Really bad at decrypting what it is that she says, so I'm sorry if I read it incorrectly or if you see something else. I'm feeling empty. How do I pull it out of me? Break through the surface. And sad. In this video, I'm obviously not going to be reading every single page because you can do that yourself, and I feel like that would get boring really fast. Here she has, interestingly, written love is, and then there's nothing. It's just blank. I could float here forever, and then there's a knife, and it says anemic and sweet, and come in and lay down. What I really think is interesting about this is that she's writing very little, but the little she's writing, I think, says a lot. And, you know, I'm not trying to be pseudo-intellectual here, but I'm just saying, you know, sometimes people write an entire paragraph and you're like, okay, that was useless. I still don't know how you feel. Whereas here I feel like between her drawings and the small excerpts she does write, we get quite a bit considering she's not saying much. May 27th, Sunday, May 27th, there's no year marked on any of this. Hit with a discomfort that I can't shake off, that I can't turn off. Not disillusionment, it's there's something wrong. It's in the air and I can't shake it off. Something's wrong with the time, this time. Supposed to be another. Don't know why I'm here and not there. What the fuck is in the sky? It's too fucking loud. It's too quiet. Disquiet. That's the word. And there are pictures of cages that she can't get out of despite her rage. And a lock. I'm gonna read a couple more posts. I think I'm losing my mind. I mean, really, really losing my fucking mind, or this life is fucking with me big time. Weird things happening every day. My perception of things is changing, I think. Thoughts I've never had before. I've been wishing to go back in time to my reality. Since then, everything has been morphing. Slowly and slowly, I've been realizing that I don't feel out of place for just no reason. I think life messed up, glitched. I'm not supposed to be here now. Not in a depressing, oh, I'm not supposed to be here way. Like, my existence was misplaced in time. This journey is a slow one, but I can feel it in my bones. Maybe I'm going back. Time works in strange, strange ways. Might find a portal to my reality someday, soon in my bedroom. Might go to sleep one night and wake up in that time, in that year, trying to think about it all logically, scientifically. But this has a lot to do with fate. My life is in the hands of time and fate right now. I never trusted my intuition, but I have a feeling, I have been feeling otherworldly things since one specific night. Like I discovered a part of myself growing more and more into myself every day. Who I really am. I have discovered that I am not at home. And then there's a picture of, is it called a machine gun? I'm shit with guns. Talk hard. There's no such thing as harmless power. And there's another page that says, everything I criticize, I end up becoming. I was so young and things were happening in the world and I had no idea. These things would later come into my life and prove to be cataclysmic to my nature, and they would have become a part of me, and they were there all along and before. I was so young and these things were manifesting and I had no idea. They were waiting for me. Like I said, my intention here is not to be armchair psychologist, not at all. What I'm going to do is draw a conclusion or multiple conclusions from what we've read. And basically, I think all of us can agree that we have a person who feels increasingly out of place. We've seen that. And she kept referring to a time, how she was put in Earth at the wrong time. And I'm wondering whether the right time would have been not necessarily when Columbine happened as much as maybe when the shooters, Dylan and Eric, were alive. I don't know if that's what she's referring to. Who knows? But since she was really infatuated with the idea, it wouldn't surprise me. So we definitely have someone who feels out of place, alone, doesn't seem to relate to anyone. And what I particularly find interesting is that very stereotypically, right? Let's just talk about stereotypes for a second. Stereotypically, diaries are made for you to write your innermost thoughts, sure. And most of the time, when we have our innermost thoughts, there is a layer of abstract and then there's a layer of concrete, right? So if I wrote in my diary, I don't feel like I fit in, a lot of the times, not feeling like you fit in, there are examples that substantiate why you feel that way. Like, I don't feel like I fit in because I don't get along with anyone at school. That's an example, right? And I'm not trying to make light of the situation. I'm just giving examples. But what's interesting here is that there's never really a concrete example given, or there's never an interaction that is like, today I feel like shit because X said that I look like Y, or X said that I'm stupid. Like there's no concrete reason as to the abstract that thought. So we get half of what's going on and not the concrete and physical basis. Does that make sense? So I feel like that's very interesting because it almost feels like this diary is only for the abstract thoughts, which for her are very specific, but for readers like us who don't know her life are extremely vague because we're like, what the hell happened today? Like, what are you referring to? I'm mainly glad that nobody got hurt. I don't know what her intentions were. I definitely think that as someone infatuated with Columbine, her intentions might not have been just hurting herself. I don't know. But I do think that it's very concerning that an individual would go to that length, to travel from Florida to Colorado to do that and kill themselves the same day. So I honestly don't really know what to make of this because I don't want to vilify someone who all along just wanted to kill themselves, but I also don't want to act like she's inherently innocent just because nobody else was killed, because who knows if that was her initial plan. You know what I mean? I don't really want to assign any kind of motivation to her other than what seems clear to me, that is she wanted to hurt and kill herself, even as we saw at the beginning of the journal. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about all of this. Let me know if you can figure out any motivation here of what she was planning to do in Colorado, if there was anything apart from hurting herself. Let me know what you think about the journal entries, and thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always. Let's get right into the fan art.